Hey, it's Mallory with Living Life Barefoot, and today at Barefoot Microgreens, it's harvest day. And as you can see, I harvested a little bit of this tray and I came across a little issue. And so I wanted to share something with you guys today. If you're a microgreens farmer or grower, you might run across wet microgreens. So in today's video, I'm gonna show you a little something I have that helps me in this situation when sometimes you just happen to have a tray that's more wet than others. And you as a microgreens grower know that you cannot package your microgreens wet. So I'm gonna finish harvesting this tray and I'm gonna show you this cool little thing I have that helps me dry my microgreens on harvest day. Growing microgreens, it takes you a little while to get your systems dialed in as far as keeping the humidity and temperature in your room what it needs to be, and then also getting your watering down. So for whatever reason, this tray of microgreens was a little more wet than I like it to be. All the other trays so far have been fine. So when it comes to having issues like this, you definitely want to make sure you dry your microgreens before you package them. So a little funny story I'll share with you. When I first started my business, I was having wet microgreens all the time. I was overwatering. My humidity in my room was not what it needed to be. What I would do if I had wet microgreens is I would spread them out on the kitchen counter, because at that time I was still working in my kitchen before my husband built this little work area for me out in the garage. I would lay down paper towels, I would spread the microgreens out nice and even, and I would hold an oscillating fan. Of course it wasn't oscillating. I have an oscillating fan in my grow room, and I would run back there and I would get it, and I would hold that sucker up for 2 minutes. So I would usually do about a minute, and then I would flip the microgreens over and I would hold it up again for another minute, and that actually gets pretty heavy after a while. And that was so frustrating to me, and it was just taking so much time, and I was just feeling so frustrated and defeated on harvest day. It was just not a good feeling. After my husband built me this nice station out in my garage, he came up with this wonderful idea, and it has worked so well. One, because it's right next to my work area when I'm harvesting. So if I happen to have a tray of wet microgreens like I did today, it's just right here. I'm not running back to my grow room. I'll take you in and I'll show you this and kind of how he made it. So maybe this will help you out on harvest day. And if you have a handyman in your family that might be able to do this for you, or you can do it yourself, this has worked out so good for me on days like today. I will put the dimensions down below if you need it, but basically you're just gonna get the dimensions off of a box fan here, and I'll show you. He kind of bolted it up against the wall, and it's on a hinge here, so it's so easy to lift up. Took one side of the fan off here, as you can see, and then this he built so it fits perfectly underneath the fan here. Okay, so I had to put the camera down because it is kind of hard to do with just one hand, but basically this just comes out here. The dimensions off of the box fan and nailed those together. And then he took chicken wire and then also a mesh screen. He has both here. So looks like the mesh wrapped around here. He stapled it around the edges, and then he went ahead and he put the chicken wire on the bottom of the mesh just to support it a little more. You are going to take your wet greens and just sprinkle them out. The mesh works so good because you won't have those greens falling through. I just spread it out as even as I can. Kind of like that. It just works out so good. Then you're gonna take this, put it underneath here, and you're gonna turn your fan on. So just some advice here, I only dry my microgreens for 2 minutes. I don't go any longer than that. I found that if you go any longer than the 2 minutes, you're gonna end up with more limp microgreens. You definitely don't want that, and that will affect the shelf life as well. So 2 minutes max, but you can play around with that. If you don't have too wet microgreens, maybe just do a minute. And so I'll turn my fan on, and sometimes halfway in between I'll go in and I'll flip them around, and I'll check them after the 2 minutes, but that's usually the perfect time. You have to plug it in first. The 2 minutes is up, and so I just always fill them, and they fill so much better. And this works out really easily. Basically, nothing really sticks to the mesh. I have a few here, but nothing terrible. And just like that, makes it so much easier than what I was doing originally. And then I'm just gonna continue and package these up real quick. There you have it. That was super easy and simple and made it go by very smoothly on harvest day. Another option that you could do is take your box fan and actually zip tie it to the underneath shelf in your room on your grow racks. And then you can kind of do the similar thing, maybe have crate or something that you could use to put your microgreens on underneath your fan. So that's another way if you don't have the space to do it this way like I do. This just makes it super easy for me because I do my harvesting out here now, so having this right next to me works out perfect on those days when you're wanting to have a smooth harvest and run across an issue like wet microgreens. I hope this helps. And if you're interested in building this, or if you want to know more about this, like I said, I will leave the dimensions below just to help you out. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope this drying rack helps you out on those stubborn harvest days when you just want to get it done. I'm going to get back to harvesting, and I have some deliveries to make today. Remember to subscribe to Living Life Barefoot. Catch you on the next video.